Trojan Philly, what's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, got to talk about Juju Lewis and how his trip went on Colorado. Listen, I wasn't even going to really address it or talk about it. And yes, I did talk to somebody close to the situation, that was actually there on the trip out there and saw Juju Lewis. And look, I got plenty of information as it relates to that. And, here's what I'm going to say to you guys as the USC fans. I saw so many fans that said, look, let Juju go. Let him do this. Let him do that. And here's the thing. Number one, let me say this. Number one, Juju Lewis, he's a heck of a quarterback. And I'm going to be honest, last year compared to this year, as it relates to Juju Lewis and his play, I mean, he's just increased his level of play to the next level. I mean, his precision, the way he even moves and grooves out of the pocket. And, some argued with me last time I put the video out about Juju Lewis and his mobility. And I said, he's more than just a pocket quarterback. A lot of people label him as a pocket quarterback, but he's one that can run. And I'm not saying that he is a dual threat title-wise. He's not the dual threat with the title, but he is a quarterback that can run. You got the dual threats that are Lamar Jackson type guys. You got the dual threats that are actually like a Michael Vick guy. But I'm not saying that he's like that. But what I am saying is that he's more so like a Patrick Mahomes type of guy. Shout out to my guy USC Priority. He used the word improvise. He's one that improvises. He can move and groove. And I saw that this year, the leap from last year to this year, just the way to his ability to improvise and move in the pocket. Listen, I'm higher on Juju Lewis than I am this year than I was last year. And I really think he's really stepped his game up to another level. And you could tell that he's really working on his craft. So with that being said, I'm saying all that to say for all those who suggest and say that, look, man, we can move on. And there probably are other quarterbacks that you could probably look to. But I think it's kind of late in the game, being that, coming into 2020, the 2025 class. Look, we almost to December. It's almost about to be November next week. Well, this weekend, actually. And I think we really kind of have to really, lock in and make sure we secure Juju Lewis. So with that being said, I am told that, look, he's still committed to USC. He loves USC. However, I do know that his trip went extremely well. And I do know this. I'm told that our current recruits that are committed, not only guys like Jerome Miles, who I heard that was calling him on the trip and wanting to know what's going on. I think there's a lot that's kind of riding on Juju Lewis sticking with his commitment. I literally heard Jerome Miles calling him, wanting to know, hey, what's up? Because, these guys, USC has the big time class that's recruited, 2025 class. We could finish out in the top 5. And I also heard, I didn't see it, I did hear that Corey Sims put something on his Instagram story, like, what's going on, And so I think, I'm not sure if Corey Sims is concerned, but I know that from what I heard that Jerome Miles, it seems to be somewhat of a concern. That's just what sources are telling me. And I think that USC has to win these games because you got other guys as well, particularly one guy that was on a trip with him, Cardi Smith, who's committed to USC as well, big time out of state of Alabama, was committed to Auburn. USC was able to flip him. But from what I understand, that Cardi Smith, he was absolutely lost in the Colorado sauce. Him and his mom, they absolutely loved it. And, rightfully so. They laid the red carpet out for Cardi Smith. He was there along with Juju Lewis. And I think, look, anything that happens with Juju is going to trickle down. If Juju stays, Cardi Smith stays. If Juju stays, Jerome Miles stays. If Juju stays, Corey Sims, all of these other guys stay. But if we don't have a quarterback going into the 2025 season, I think that could be problematic for the USC football program. And I think everything is riding on. I literally think Lincoln Riley and the staff put all their chips in one basket. And I think that's where we kind of at with it. Now, another thing that I'm told, especially as it relates to NIL, All right, and another thing that I was told as it relates to NIL, and this is USC, I mean, this is Colorado here. You see, this is at the game, how they laid it out for Juju Lewis and Cardi Smith. They were absolutely just going crazy. Of course, you guys know they got the Juju burger there as well. But I was told as it relates to NIL, like they're putting everything into their NIL. And I heard that they were basically telling him that, look, Travis Hunter and the Sanders brothers, those guys are going to be gone. That NIL money is going to be, it has to go somewhere. And look, they basically saying that it can all go to you, Juju and Cardi Smith and other guys. And so I think that's a factor as well. They're really looking at that aspect of it. And I was told that there's a executive that was at Warner Brothers for 25 years. And I believe it's 22 years or 25 years. And that particular executive is now over the Colorado NIL, the collective. And so he's willing to put everything into, trying to secure Juju and trying to get Juju. And we know if I'm not even gonna say Juju and Cardi Smith, because I know if you get Juju, they're able to get everybody else, So I really think there's a lot riding on this. And so right now, hey, look, we can keep the faith. He's a Trojan, and I do think that we have to win these games. And one thing I can say is the way Lincoln Riley, Miller Moss, and all these guys, the way they made adjustments last week and really just performed at a high level last week. And but prior to that, USC was having some issues, and some thought that it was all the way to offensive line, but we saw the offensive line getting way better this year. These past couple of games. And so what Miller Moss was able to do, and the way Lincoln Riley came up with the game plan, essentially keeping everything in front of Miller Moss, throwing nothing over, I would say, 20 yards. He let his athletes work for him. And so I think that should even entice Juju even more success-wise, that, look, if those type of game plans can be consistent, the offensive line, as we stated, we got guys like Elijah Page coming back, all of these other guys, these young guys that, are constantly gelling together. You guys know I just did a video yesterday talking about the offensive line is now coming together and they're gelling. I think if long as we continue to see that type of improvement, because let's face it, Colorado, they're losing a lot of guys. They're losing some guys as well. And Sanders, yes, he does a whole lot of running around himself, but that's the point. He does run around and try to he's a pocket quarterback as well. He's kind of like the same way, similar to Juju. He's an improviser. He kind of runs around and he makes something out of nothing. But that's sometimes he has to do it just due to his offensive line. So I don't think Colorado is in a situation to where, as far as from a football standpoint, that is better than USC. If anything, it may be, less, not as good of a situation opposed to USC. I think USC has more talent, I would say, on the offensive line. They did have a big time guy come out of there come there this year. He's starting as a true freshman. I forget his name. I think it's Jordan. But so this is what we're dealing with. So I think it's more promising, especially when you see what they did with Rutgers last week. Now, that was Rutgers. And we'll see what happens with Washington and the game plan that's implemented, because Washington does have the best pass defense, from my understanding, in the Big Ten. Maybe in the country. I got to double check that again. But I know it's in the Big Ten for sure. They have the best pass defense in the country. So, but I think if we have the same type of game plan, not require Miller to go all the way down the field unless it's there. But just allow him just to sit right there and step up in the pocket and just to, distribute the ball to guys like Mekhi Lemon, Zachariah Branch, Jacoby Lane, Deuce Robinson, all of these guys, Kyron Hudson, Kyle Ford. Get these guys into play. I believe that we will have success. And so, man, look, you guys can hit me in the comments. You guys can tell me what you think. I don't think this necessarily, I think everything that you guys probably heard from me today is pretty much what we expected. USC is still there. He's still committed. He hasn't decommitted. Now, from my understanding, I haven't seen this. I've been kind of lost in the sauce moving around with work, but I'm hearing that somebody said that, Jay, he's going to Indiana, but whatever. Okay, and we know that Indiana's having a great year this year. That's a good coach, came from James Madison. So whatever happens with that is what happens. But I think USC still in the best situation, the best place, provided that we win these games. I'm told that, hey, we got to finish, we got to win this out. These games pretty much out. I'm not saying that we can't drop one, but we got to look like we got some offensive life, opposed to what we've been seeing. And so last week was a week that showed us that we can get back on it, and a USC identity is now essentially been found from an offensive perspective since, I guess, LSU. And I think we can kind of come with that game plan, and Juju Lewis will be just fine. So, man, you guys can hit me in the comments. You guys can tell me what you think. USCJ32 on Instagram, USCJ32 on Twitter. I'm out of here. Till later on, everybody stay blessed. Fight on, fight on, fight on.